Another form of content that you can shape your matter around is the how-to piece. How-tos lend themselves to video and screen capture as well as the screen steps presentations that we talked about. So they're a great opportunity to introduce a different medium for delivering your content if you mostly work with articles or written blog posts. Of course, how-tos still work as a blog post or article too. If that's the medium that you want to use, then absolutely go for it. This is, as you know, about shipping. So work with what works for you. Since you've got a ton of feeds inside your Google Feed Reader that you're checking in on each day, I'm certain that you already know a few how-to type topics that people ask again and again about your niche, whether it's in Twitter or in forums or in Yahoo Answers. But let's take a look at two other sources to get ideas for your how-to articles. This first one here is ehow.com. So let's do a search for tomatoes and see what kind of ideas we can come up with for our fictional tomato growing site. Tomatoes. So we've got sponsored links up top, how to grow tomatoes. Now, how to grow cherry tomatoes, that's a good one. How to grow tomatoes organically, how to ripen green tomatoes, how to plant hanging tomato plants, how to prune a tomato plant. So those are all really good ideas for me in my fictional site that I've gotten from eHow, and then of course there's several pages of results. So this site is an absolute goldmine for ideas on the kind of how-to topics that people are looking for. And of course you can use them for your research too. If you need to know how to do something, then of course you can research it here. Now another example that I want to show you here is WikiHow, very similar kind of thing. So let's put in tomatoes and how to grow a tomato plant, how to ripen green ones, how to grow them from seed, how to prune them, how to grow them in a greenhouse, another idea, how to grow them upside down, how to grow heirloom ones. So again, we're getting quite a few ideas from this second site on different topics that we could create a how-to kind of post around our fictional tomato growing niche. And you'll just go in and put in whatever main keyword you want to in the search box that's relative to your niche and see what kinds of how-to ideas you can come up with from these sites. Now, a final idea for how-to posts is, of course, something that you just recently did in your niche. So if I'd recently pruned my tomatoes, if they're the sort of thing that you prune, I guess that they are since there's articles here on WikiHow on how to do it, but I would write a how-to on that topic for my own readers. So things that you've engaged in your own niche, of course, you can create how-tos on as well. Now here's another example. The best kinds of how-tos and the ones that get the most links and the best social sharing are those that are incredibly thorough. So back to our tomato example, if I were to write a post on pruning tomatoes, I could say something to the effect of trim back the overgrown vines. Unfortunately, it may be really obvious to you as the person who's creating the how-to what that means, but for somebody who's new to the topic, it's still really a mystery. What exactly qualifies as overgrown? How far back should I trim them? Do I trim them all? Do I only leave one vine left off of a branch? Those kinds of questions would still remain. So it would be a much better how-to if it's explained exactly what it is that is meant. You can describe it with your words, or you can use pictures, videos, screenshots to make it crystal clear. If you're shooting video, show a close-up shot of exactly the action that you want people to take and where to take it. So here's a concrete example that I did quite a while ago. YouTube released a sponsored video product, and I put up a blog post the same day on how to use YouTube sponsored video. A little side note here, I did the post on the same day so that it would gain traction as quickly as possible. When there's news in your market that you know that people will be looking for more information on, then jump on it. You want to get your post out there before everybody else does, right? Because that will cement you in your readers' minds even more than as the go-to person in your marketplace for the absolute latest information. So to take a look at the post, I did an introduction of what the product was, and then I'm going to walk people through the back end and how to activate it. And you see I did the screenshots. I highlighted the screenshots with some arrows and some instructions, click next, and then I used text also to illustrate or to explain how to do things. We talk about writing the ad, and then it shows you over here the preview of what your ad's going to look like. Again, I'm using some little arrows and stuff to illustrate exactly where people should be looking at on the screen, so on and so forth. And we just went through the entire process for people as far as how to finish creating and using YouTube sponsored videos, so on and so forth. Confirm. And again, I mean, I was very, very thorough so that everybody reading this could get a complete step-by-step view of how to use this new product from YouTube. Now, here's another post that we've seen before in Always Be Shipping. Facebook made some changes to how their newsfeed worked, and I did a quick video to show people how to fix those changes that Facebook has made. So this was a screen capture video. It was simple, it took just a few minutes, but here I was being the authority, I was being the expert, I was telling folks how to fix a problem that most people didn't even know existed at the time that I created this video. So I go through the process and show them on the screen exactly how to fix the problem. Now, this isn't to suggest that people are quite this simple-minded, because it's not that cut and dry. But when you know how to do something that your readers don't know how to do, they'll often have a little bit of admiration for you, at least respect that you know something that they don't. And then when you're generous enough to share that information with them on your site, here's how to do this thing that I know how to do that you don't know how to do, you become likable too. Hey, you're a friendly person. You're willing to share the information that you have. So the how-to is a great kind of post because you can create them around the topics that people are always looking for how-to information on, like you find in the eHow and the WikiHow posts, but they're also a great tool for building a relationship with your readers. Let's go over the most important elements to create a really great how-to post. You'll use something visual to convey the concept as you're working through it. It might be live video, it might be screen capture, screenshots, photos, it could be a drawing, a diagram, a mind map, but your how-to should have a visual element. And you'll probably, for a multi-step process like I showed you in the YouTube sponsored video post, you'll probably have several visual elements if you're using screenshots or photos. Now, the visual isn't 100% necessary, but it's a step that'll really make what you've created stand out from everybody else. Plus, it'll make it clear and overall just better than what might already be out there. Having a visual is also going to eliminate confusion so that people who do see your how-to have a higher success rate when they're actually implementing your instructions. And having a higher success rate obviously is good for your reputation as somebody who's an expert in your niche. If they can follow your instructions, if it works for them, then they say, hey, that guy, that lady, she really put together something that I was able to use, and she's right about that, and I appreciate that from her. Your how-to should also be incredibly detailed. A how-to doesn't do anybody any good if they're still unclear about what steps to take or how to do something after they've read it, right? It should be in a logical order, from 1 to 10, A to Z, whatever the case may be, but start at the absolute beginning and go through to the absolute end, describing every single step along the way in order. Now, sometimes it'll help when you're creating your how-to post, or at least detailed notes on the steps to do something, is if you yourself go through that process. When we just think about or remember how to do something, we often omit something that we would remember if we just went through the process ourselves and then wrote our how-to as we were going through the process, or at least, like I said, took really detailed notes on the steps that we took as we go through the process. Now, we cover keyword-focused blog posts in another video here, but for how-to posts, you can usually find a keyword or two that people search for in your niche using the actual words how-to. So I'll give you an example. Here's my search for my keyword tomato with the words how-to. Of course, you can't see all the results on this page, but there are two perfect ones that came up right on top: how to plant tomatoes and how to grow tomatoes. So how to grow gets 22,200 searches a month versus how to plant, which gets 5,400. So if I were to write an article on the topic, I'd cover the how to grow tomatoes first because it gets more traffic. But you'll want to include that how-to kind of key phrase in your post title of your how-to topic, as well as in the body. Now, I'm mentioning it specifically in this how-to video because the how-to plus niche, how to grow tomatoes, how to use YouTube sponsored videos, whatever the case may be, How-tos are very heavily searched, and you can usually find a how-to kind of key phrase to focus on when you're doing a how-to post. So you absolutely want to look into this for this kind of post in particular. The other reason that I like how-tos, well, there's not a whole lot of creativity involved. It is what it is, and you just explain the steps on how to do the thing. So you can set these kinds of posts aside to create on the days when you're not feeling particularly opinionated or inspired to do more of an opinion kind of piece. That way, no matter what your mood, you've still got something to ship.